Restaurants and car dealerships are missing their payouts as Americans pulled back on their spending in March. The Commerce Department says retail sales fell a seasonally adjusted 0.2%. after a revised 0.3% drop back in February. But over the past 12 months, retail sales have risen 5.2%. A sign that the economy does remain on a stable footing. Now, sales tumbled 1.5% last month at auto dealers and 0.6% in restaurants and bars. It was the second straight monthly drop in both those categories. Now, this comes in the face of a healthy job market. The unemployment rate declined in March to allow for about 4.5% of an unemployment number. So maybe people are actually making money now, but saving it, God forbid. While a slow down overall was offset a bit more by department store and electronics purchases. And of course, what's expanding? Online shopping. Online sales have surged nearly 12% in the last year. My guest says that's all well and good, but it's time for people to wake up from the dream that this new presidency is going to fix our economy. A lot of people thought and still think that Donald Trump could turn the ship around. Please welcome Peter Schiff, CEO of Euro Pacific Capital. Nice to see you. Look, we got those retail numbers came out. What are you seeing the tea leaves here? The Atlanta Fed first quarter GDP estimate has dropped a bit lower. You say we're headed into a recession.
Well, the Atlanta Fed now is calling for 0.5, 0.5% growth in the first quarter. And we could end up with the first quarter being negative, which means we're halfway to an official recession already. And I think those retail sales numbers certainly confirm that. In fact, if you look at the real health of the retail sector, it hasn't been this sick since 2008. Look at the store closures, look at the bankruptcies. And, you know, Americans are loaded up with debt. You have more than $1 trillion in student loans, more than $1 trillion in credit card debt, more than $1 trillion in auto loans. So you're talking like $3.5 trillion of debt there. And a lot of Americans no longer have home equity like they used to. A lot of Americans no longer have homes because I think the home ownership rate is now near a 60-year low. So a lot of people that used to own homes and have equity now are renting, and their rent keeps going up. And a lot of people that still have homes don't have the equity that they used to have. So people are loaded up with debt. This economy is in terrible shape. You talked about could Trump right the ship? Look, you know, we're the Titanic at this point. And once we hit that iceberg, it didn't matter who the captain was. The ship was going down. The key is, you know, getting into a lifeboat and not going down with it.
Well, let's talk about infrastructure tax reform. You say he's not going to get that done. Just look at what happened with the Obamacare repeal. You think that that's
yeah, you know, he was
going
to replace Obamacare, you know, and he was going to replace Janet Yellen. And it looks like Obamacare is here to stay, and it looks like he's thinking about reappointing Janet Yellen. You know, so, and part of the key to tax reform was getting rid of Obamacare, and they haven't done that. And I don't think the president is going to get any meaningful tax reform. I think they will get a tax cut passed, and I think it's going to be as an economic stimulus to combat the recession. And I think he's going to cut a deal with the Democrats. I still think he's going to have to fight the conservatives in the Republican Party who don't want to blow a bigger hole in the deficit. So I think we're going to get some kind of stimulus, middle-class type tax cut paired with some kind of make-work government spending, infrastructure, jobs bill or something like that. But it's not going to help the economy. But what it will do is add to the deficit and cause a big drop in the dollar and further increase consumer prices.
So do you think that, just from a sort of looking at Capitol Hill, kind of going, okay, how are you guys even going to get anything like this done? Infrastructure, tax reform, they're big. They're talking about trying to bundle them all into one sort of push in tandem at the same time. Do you think that's just going to sort of sidetrack people's attention from issues within those two things, as you say, meaningful tax reform and then creating big government job programs?
Well, I don't think it's going to be meaningful tax reform. As I said, I think they will find a way to lower taxes in a targeted way. And I think they do want to bundle it with an infrastructure bill. But look, you don't grow the economy by the government spending money. You know, we don't need government spending on infrastructure. And even if we do, even if we need, let's say, to repair bridges that are in disrepair, or roads that
if we need to, come on now. If you tried to drive across this country lately, you don't think they need to be repaired? You said if.
Well, look, even if they do need, my point is, even if they do need to be repaired, repairing them is a cost that the economy has to bear. We don't grow the economy. We don't create prosperity by spending money to make repairs. Just like if your own house, if your roof is leaking and now you have to spend money to fix your roof, that doesn't improve your economic situation. It's simply diverse resources. Maybe you would have taken a vacation, but now you have to cancel it because you need the money to fix your roof. So if we repair our infrastructure, it's not a panacea. It's not going to make the economy better in the short run. It's going to make the economy worse. Now, maybe in the long run, we'll be better off because we have better roads, but it's not going to be a quick fix.
Well, it's not a quick fix, but it sure does help, GDP when you've got critical infrastructure that works well. You don't think so?
No, it does. Yeah, just like a tornado or an earthquake helps the GDP by destroying stuff. It's not good for the economy.
Okay, so perfect world, what's your remedy?
Well, the remedy is to recognize that we're sick and to have a real cure. Just like what's the remedy if you're a drug addict? What's the remedy? Stop taking drugs and check yourself into rehab. That's what we need to do. We got to get off the monetary heroin. We've got to go into, monetary rehab. We've got to allow interest rates to rise. We got to let the bubbles pop. And then we got to deal with the mess in Washington. We got to drastically cut government spending. We got to, really eliminate entire agencies and departments. We have to cut entitlement spending, including getting rid of Obamacare, but we got to make cuts to Social Security. We got to make cuts to Medicare. We got to do a lot of very politically unpopular things.
You're making people cry on a Friday.
We need to restructure the debt. Excuse me?
You're making people cry on a Friday. This is all very, very sad and depressing to hear, but you know what? You got to rip that Band-Aid off, right? Is that your argument? Just
absolutely.
do it. Peter, thank you so much for talking with me about... I'm sorry? Continue?
Yeah, and I said, that Band-Aid's been on for a long time. So what's underneath it is a lot uglier than it had we ripped it off years ago. So we got to deal with it.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you so much for your input today. Peter Schiff, CEO of Euro Pacific Capital. Thanks for joining me.